Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let me see who's all. We're missing just about 3 people now. However, if you want to choose whenever you're ready to start.
Let's get going.
Okay.
And
I'm gonna give it. I'll give them till 5, and then I can go close.
wonderful. Thanks. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
So nice to be here with you. Thank you for being here with me. We've got 2 hours. Is that right?
6 to 8.
6 to 8. Great.
Beautiful.
That's what you came for? Great. Okay.
That's
That's what I'm here for too. And there's a ton of information that I want to share with you. But the first thing I would love to do, I'm new here, and so I'd love that you guys know each other, but I would love to hear, just like go around, and I would like to hear your name. I would like you to identify an animal that you love or identify with. I don't want to hear why. I just want you to name an animal. No explanations.
Yes, beautiful.
And then I want a sentence or two about your relationship to time. Maybe like what brought you here. What about this sparked something in you, or just like how do you relate to time? So I'll start. My name's David McConaughey. My friends know me as Telfer, but this is a professional setting, so I'm David. I carry a lot of golden retriever energy, and I'm here because this information saves my life on a daily basis and helps me organize my ADHD bipolar tendencies, and so here we are.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Will you start us off?
Yes. I am Jacqueline. I have an elephant tattooed onto me, and so I resonate with that, and I'm gonna stick with that. And I'm here to learn a little bit more about this modality and this Ayurveda.
Ayurveda.
I don't know much about it, and it's already tripped me up today, so I can't wait to dive in. I've had a panic attack about it already. It's okay. I'm not an Aries. Oh no, I'm not a Capricorn. Sorry. You go ahead.
Wait, what?
I'm not a. I'll talk about it later.
Hi, I'm Katie.
Hi,
I'm
Katie.
a Capricorn.
That's what you think.
Watch out.
And
Wait,
I identify. I was gonna say dog, but I'm gonna go poodle. So it's just
Yeah.
And I have a hard time being idle. So like I'll make a big to-do list and will just continuously do things and do things and do things and do things, and then once I'm idle, I am kind of like, what do I do with myself?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. Familiar with that tendency.
Running.
Yes.
Come on in.
Yes.
Yeah. Right on time. Perfect. It's perfect. Yeah.
My name is Meredith. I'd say some like large cat energy. Relationship with time, that's a hard one for me. Like you were saying, that idleness is really hard. Constantly want to be busy and doing things, and like that to-do list is constantly running in the back of my head. And then, yeah, I want more time to just chill, but then when I am chilling, it's like
Not that chill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Meredith.
My name's Andrew. I'd say more like eagle. Is what I would think. So like I like looking.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. No. No explanation.
And time is like, I don't know, time's everything to me, right? Like, I mean, my day is like, so like I like time, and I've never heard of any of this, so this is like a new perspective, which is gonna be really cool to experience.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So just want to note you love time.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have a positive regard and friendly relationship with time.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's like I love it because like that's the essence of. I mean, that's how I like do my life. It's like by like assigning time
Yeah.
with things that bring me joy or provide for the future or whatever that is. Yeah.
Amazing. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Let's go.
My name is Mike. I carry, interesting enough, right off the bat, you said that, I feel like I carry a lot gecko. I've always found them to be like.
No explanation. I don't. I see you.
What brought me to this place, I guess, is that I'll segue into that a little bit. I find myself sticking on to a lot of different things, and now I'm trying to find in this place what things I should, attach myself onto and what not to, and kind of find some stabilization there. So and also kind of re-identify and who I, how I approach things. So.
Right. What are you sticking to? What color are you changing to? What's my actual color? Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, you're getting deep there.
Gotcha. Yeah. Metaphors. I'm allowed to go into your explanation.
I'm not licensed time management, so this is I'm a freelancer, so this is I'm all you.
Yeah, no, I'm totally teasing you.
Teach me your ways.
And so I'm totally joking, and I hope you guys feel that as well, that this is mainly a participatory thing. I want this to be a conversation, very much against here, I have a bunch of knowledge I'm going to download into your brains. That's not how this works. And so we're just going to keep this in conversation, and there's some data that I'll share that we can then see how it feels for us. So just note that, and I'm totally just messing with you, but no explanations. Yes, please.
My name is Patty, and I am a jaguar that happens to have a curly mane. What is time but a construct? Here we go. I'm an air sign. 1 hour goes by very fast or sometimes very slow, and I don't know how old I am because I don't feel this old because time is weird. I'm gonna stop there. I don't know what I'm saying.
That's great. That's great. That's like a thesis statement. That could have been the description for this class. Why? What is time? It's where? How does it work? Is it slow? Or is there a lot of it or none of it? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi guys. My name is Dee. I am a Care Bear with an inner Bengal tiger. Go figure it out. You guys figure. It's just where we are. Why am I here? So time management has been a theme for me. I have always struggled with it, even as a child and in college, and I am a terrible procrastinator, and I'm still trying to learn how to live my life according to my energy and my rhythms, just like my internal rhythm, and trying to get in sync more with it. So I'm hoping that this will just help me along that path.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm here.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
Hey, I'm Marnie. Some call me Marno.
What's your Instagram handle?
Marnie underscore. And Honeyloon Design. So I associate with dragon energy, and I'm here because I'm really bad with time. I just always think I have time. Doesn't Buddha say that? The trouble is you think you have time. So but it's the thing is I procrastinate and I get it done, but the stress that I add to myself during that is what? So this I have time, so I want to manage it.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Matt. I'm definitely an owl. And quite contrary to what Dave just said, that this is a conversation and we're here to reciprocate whatever, and he's not the one that says, I have all these answers and I have all this knowledge. The reason I'm here is because I met Dave last week in Sedona, and he has a lot of knowledge. So I'm here to just listen to him. You can do whatever you want, but that's what should happen. So moving on.
Thanks, Matt.
I'm Rich Staney. I've never really thought about it, but I'm into hummingbirds for sure. And I've had a rapid heartbeat recently as well, so I feel totally connected with it. I'm just here more so to kind of go with the flow and not be rushing things. Done that my whole life, so just kind of, yeah, exactly, just go with the flow and not kind of set time as a regards of how fast or slow I should be moving.
Mm-hmm. Lovely, thank you.
I'm Chelsea. I don't know, bear, I guess, is what keeps popping up in my head. And I'm here because I'm exploring some hormonal, cyclical not issues, but just like ways that it affects my energy levels and my own time management outside of the concept of time. And so, and when you mentioned like ADHD and bipolar, like I feel like sometimes I'm just crushing it and I can get so much done in a day, and then sometimes it's 5 o'clock and I have no clue where the day went and I accomplished nothing. So trying to figure out kind of why that is, and if those two concepts might mingle.
Yeah, wonderful, thank you.
Hi, my name is Nivedita. It's interesting, I'm half Austrian, half Indian. Indians are always late and Austrians are always on time or early. And I guess my concept of time just came down from my Indian lineage because I'm always on Indian timing, yeah, which is really not that wonderful in a Western space. I'm reading a lot of things here that my mom, like, she knows all this stuff. Vata, Pitta, Mangalvar, Bulivar, yeah. As you see, I'm always 5 minutes late. Why? Please help me. Thank you.
Did we hear an animal?
Yeah, what's your animal? Some kind of fuzzy cat. Fuzzy cat?
Thank you. All right, thank you all. What a wild zoo of humans we have in here. So fun and good. It helps me just the orientation of what are the priorities, and because part of this is like so many of us are working from home in COVID time, right? And all of a sudden, instead of getting up, going to the office and having that sort of external structure, all of a sudden we need to figure out how to organize our own time. These sort of, whether it's hormonal or moon cycles, there's all sorts of these ebbs and flows that can feel really random, except very often they're not, and so there's that. And yeah, so now that we're all here, we're gonna dive right in with, okay, so just a brief overview of what we're gonna do. We're gonna dive into this question of what is time, and talk about some of the ways that we currently measure it, some of the strategies we have, and what are we actually measuring. Then we're going to, based on how that goes, which time is this controversial thing, but there are some non-controversial ways to measure it. And so we're gonna get into what is natural time, what actually is it, and how can we measure it in a way that's universal and useful. And we're gonna get into some very specific strategies and qualities based on Ayurveda and Vedic astrology on how to organize a day, a week, and a month, and we'll see what we have time for, because of course, there's all these interlocking cycles, right? Like the cosmic clockwork covers vast periods of time. So we'll see what we have time for. But if you'll join me in a brief meditation here, I invite you to find a comfortable seat and sit up nice and tall, reach that top of your head towards the ceiling, and then drop your shoulders and drop your chin towards your chest just slightly. And a breath or two just to settle into this posture. And with your eyes closed, I invite you to resist for a moment to going to that place that you go when you close your eyes, which is to say, keep your eyelids closed, but have your vision open. Be looking at the back of your eyelids. Be awake in that way. And if you can feel that outgoing energy hitting the back of your eyelids, and get a sense of the amount of energy it takes to see things all day. And if you can feel that outgoing energy, here is the invitation to retract it. And instead of pushing outwards, let it sink back into the center of your head. Keep your vision alive, awake, but looking out not through your eyeballs, from the center of your head. And rest there for a moment. From that place in the center of your head, take the elevator down the front of your spine into your heart center. Using that internal eye to see the spaciousness of your chest cavity, that vast internal space. And while your attention point continues to rest in the center of your chest, become aware of your body taking up space. With your inner vision, see yourself sitting in the room. If you can see yourself sitting in the room, feel yourself taking up space. Then let's zoom out one layer, maybe 100 feet above this building. You can see the street, you can see all of us sitting here together in the room. And from this point, we can gradually keep zooming out. The city of Phoenix comes into view. Rising up, start to see the whole state of Arizona, the Four Corners region. See the curvature of the earth. Tan brown of the desert, the snow-capped mountains of the Rockies to the east. Keep rising up until you see the whole earth, that blue and green ball suspended in space. And from this perspective, you see that the earth is not a static thing, but it is spinning. Rotating on its axis as it moves through space. And as you keep zooming out, you see our nearest neighbor, the moon, making its orbit around the earth. As you keep zooming out, the sun comes into view. And you can see the sun turning on its axis. And the Earth is orbiting the sun. And the moon is orbiting the Earth. As you zoom out one more layer, you can see all the planets in their orbits. The sun as that center of gravity, keeping all the planets in their particular orbit. Like the many hands of a complex clock. All the planets do their dance as the sun zooms through space. And that's about as far out as we want to go right now. And so let's gently float back towards the Earth. Zooming in. Say hello to the sun, say hello to the moon on your way back. Zooming in back to Earth. Floating down. There are the Rocky Mountains. Now you can see the desert. Now the Phoenix City lights. Now this building, this room, your body, your heart center. Once you're back in your body, take a breath. Earth is the place to be. And when you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes and come back to the space in the room here. Okay. So I pose this question to you. What is time? What is it? Is it a thing? Is it a... Help me.
I think it's a thing.
It's a thing, like a physical thing?
No, it's not physical, but it's definitely a thing.
Okay.
But I also think that we as people measure it the way that we do because we need it to make sense of night and day, all the time in between. But yeah.
Okay. So it has its own reality to it. Is like it's its own thing? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah. Like,
So it's not just a construct.
no, I don't think it's a construct. It's,
Okay.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Okay.
That's where I land.
Yeah.
Can I call it like a progression? That's kind of what the word that I would most associate with time.
Can you say more about what you mean by that?
Elaborate on it more. It does seem to repeat itself, but not exactly in the same way. So there is a progression, and it does change, but there are similarities within like the construct that, you know, there is that phrase that history repeats itself, but never quite the same way.
Right. Something like history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. Or something. There's some phrase like that. And yeah.
Kind of getting down that path. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
I think it's just a measurement.
It's just a measurement.
Like for me, that's what I think time. Like at least how I see it and have deduced it down to is like it's just a measurement
Of what?
reality.
Ah.
It's like a way that we've constructed to measure movement in reality.
Okay.
And you know, we see like these material things moving, like we move as people throughout the world based on this measurement that we've created around the sun and the moon. It's just moving all the time.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
just measurements.
Yeah.
Math. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I like that.
Bouncing
Yeah.
off-
Yeah.
Bouncing off of that, I guess I would say the speed equals distance over time, and then time equals speed over distance. So it's just velocity.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Math. Science.
Science.
Yeah.
That just kick you, Katie. I'm so
No,
sorry.
you're fine.
Cool. Those are great answers. Yeah. And so the first thing I want to talk about is that there are many different ways to measure time, right? There you got a Hebrew calendar and an Arabic calendar and a Hindu calendar, and you know, there's a Chinese calendar, and there's this Gregorian calendar that we have all agreed implicitly, if not explicitly, to use. And the first thing I want to say about that is the whole world, for the most part, uses the Gregorian calendar as its sort of common reference point, as an economic calendar. Why? The powers of war, colonialism. It's a colonialist project. Is the first thing to name about the Gregorian calendar. Why does anybody in China have reference to the year 2021 when the Chinese calendar is something totally different? It's because of economic power wrought by military power and the history of colonialism in the world. So that's sort of like the baseline context for that calendar. And so this, as our shared mechanism for measuring time, it's worth thinking about. Because that calendar is not something that many people are commonly examining or questioning or thinking about, right? It was just sort of, oh, it's given. Everybody, you know, I don't know. Not everybody has studied time or thought about it at all. It's just like, oh, this is what it is, and it's sort of universal. And so that's our starting point, our starting context. So the history of the Gregorian calendar is a little bit messy. Before about 45 BCE in Rome, there was sort of a makeshift calendar, but the politicians would adjust the calendar based on term limits. And if they liked a politician, they would literally add days to the month, add months to the year to keep that politician in power longer.
Wow.
Yeah. And so at a certain point, Julius Caesar and really Cleopatra, we're sick of that. Like that, this doesn't make sense. We can't have it this way anymore. So they standardized the calendar, and that was called the Julian calendar. And they came up, you know, they averaged a year out to 365.25 days and set that in motion and established the names of the months, and here we go. And then it was in 1582, because a full year is actually 365.22214 days over 1500 years. The spring equinox, which is sort of the universal reference point for, it's just like a clear reference point in the year, had drifted by 15 days. And so this is when Pope Gregor the 13th, I think, convened this summit of experts, mathematicians, astrologers, and came up with a more accurate system of measurement that includes the leap year and a more precise system, and organized the calendar basically as we know it today, in all its glory. And so it mostly works insofar as the goal of Pope Gregor was to reorient the calendar to the equinoxes and the solstices and sort of lock it in place. Use those sort of four corners of the year and lock the calendar to that. And the point of that was really to measure accurately when is Easter. It's what Catholics care about is it's the Easter is a measurement after the spring equinox, right? And so that they wanted that to be fixed. And in that process, they literally just skipped 10 days. And they said those 10 were just, I think it went from like October 4th to October 15th. Just one day, then the next. And this was the Catholic Church doing this in the late 16th century. And certain countries adopted it immediately. Portugal, Spain, these very Catholic countries. And then it was this slow cascade across the world. It wasn't until the 1800s that Great Britain adopted it. And because it was conceived of as this sort of like Catholic chicanery, or like it was this sort of like magic trick. Like, what do you mean you're taking away 10 days? And so there was a controversial thing, but the need for synchronization between cultures and for economic purposes and trade, all these sort of things, eventually it became the standard. And this is the calendar we have today. And so I have a few gripes with the Gregorian calendar. The main one being that it doesn't really correspond to anything in the real world, right? So if we're focused on the solstices and the equinoxes, like, and this is a cultural thing, but Christmas is not the winter solstice, neither is New Year's. This is my biggest thing. Like, New Year's Eve corresponds to nothing in the real world. It's this total social construct. Like, why not celebrate the winter solstice?
When is that?
December 21st. Yeah. And same, like, Easter is not the spring equinox. It is not, like, President's Day is not the spring. Like, we there's nothing culturally, like, I guess we have Earth Day in that time period, but that's not such a big event culturally, is it? And same, like, summertime, like June 21st. We have Juneteenth now, like that's pretty close. But like July 4th, is that our summer solstice celebration?
Hell no.
No, hell no. Thank you. Yeah. And then, like, September 21st, the fall equinox. We don't have anything, right? Labor Day, sort of, 2 weeks before. And so these celebrations, the way we culturally mark these changes throughout the year, are really, it's like they're like tweaked, right? They're all like a week or two just off. And so I think that this has a really complicating effect on our psyches, where, like, our bodies know when these moments happen, but we're being told that actually, no, just wait for it, or it's too soon, it's too late, and it's this sort of disorienting thing. It's like a clock that hasn't been wound. You want to say something?
I was almost going to say, just like, in the way you're describing it, it almost seems like an exact, like, combination of his explanation and some of my explanation, in the regard that it is a measurement, but it's a progression of that measurement over a long span of time with different interpretations, like, thrown at it for different reasons. So.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And so, the dates that we choose to celebrate definitely change over time. and one of the calendar that didn't mention was like the Celtic or Druidic calendar, which is aligned to solstices, equinoxes, and the 4 points in between, right? So Halloween is actually a legit, like that is one of the sort of 8 directions of the year, right? So you got north, south, east, west, and then all the 4 in between. Halloween is Samhain, that's a legit one. We get that one right. Yeah. And again, when I think about it, like Halloween is the most potent holiday of the year. As adults, like that is real. Like people get in costume and go, and you can feel the energy flowing in that way, right? So there's something to that. Yes.
Halloween is also funny. It's also falls on Deepavali, which is an Indian celebration, and of lights, right? Of lights, yeah. But it's the theme is the same: darkness. Ram kills Ravan, which is darkness, the light over darkness, which is what Halloween is. So it always falls on the same time every year.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're gonna get into this. Big fan of the Indian calendar, and we'll talk about why in a moment.
Me being late is a good thing.
So, okay, let me check my notes. I've got several other gripes with the Gregorian calendar. The inconsistency of it is mind-boggling. I have lived in this calendar my whole life. I do not know how many days each month has. I do not just know off the top of my head. I was having this problem, like, are there 31 or 32? It's not intuitive. It's a like abstract fact that I need to have memorized that I've never been motivated to do. So the fact that each month is different, every day of the week is a different day of the month every year, right? So like Thursday, March 20th, 1986 is my birthday, is not a Thursday again for another 11 years. And there's this very particular pattern. So March 20th was a Thursday in 1986, and then again in 1997, so that's 11 years, and then again in 2003, 6 years, and then in 2008, 5 years, and then in 2014, 6 years, and so there is this crazy like mathematical pattern to it, but it's not, like how disorienting, right? And it's one of these like savants, right? So like geniuses with autism can tell them any date and they'll tell you what day of the week it is. Like, but those are like the rare few geniuses amongst us who can do that. And so again, like it's just this like it's inconsistent. It's unpredictable, and this is our system of measuring time. And so what does that do to the psyche is the main question here. The thing that really gets me is why is September the 9th month? Set means 7. Oct, how many legs or fins does an octopus have? But what month is October? It's the 10th one. And again, like this distortion, this is just like, it's just off. It's just incorrect on some level, right? Like all the other systems of language that we've agreed upon don't match up with this. And again, this question of like, what does that do to the psyche to see December, everything we know, decade, deca is 10, but we keep putting 12 next to that. And throughout our lives, it's just like, what? So these are potentially subtle things, but I really strongly believe that this is a disorganizing force. As I was thinking about this, it reminds me almost of the like disorganized attachment style that like cults use, right? Where it's like, you get love bombed and then shamed and then love bombed again, and it's unpredictable, right? Does this month have 30 or 31 days or 28? And it's just, you got to be on your toes and like on alert, nervous system active all the time. Wait, is it Tuesday or I have no idea where I am or what's happening. Inconsistency is disorienting. So this relationship to time that is challenging, right? It's hard to be places on time, and how you feel doesn't necessarily correspond to what the clock says it's time to do. And so all that just to describe the purpose for what we're going to talk about the rest of the time is like, why would we want to re-examine our relationship with time? Why might we want to practice other ways of measuring time for ourselves and with each other? My revolutionary spirit arises, and I think that changing the calendar would be the most like revolutionary act the world could take on. And if we want to live in closer harmony with nature and with each other, and have an economic system that is life affirming as opposed to destructive, I think changing the calendar to something more sensible and organic and natural would be the most revolutionary thing we could possibly do. Not hold my breath for that, and in the meantime, it's like we want to participate in the shared reality to the extent necessary. And the purpose of this class is to give you guys the tools so that in your personal lives and in your own, to the extent that you can manage your own time, you can make more skillful choices and have another like layer, another depth of awareness about, cool, like it's Thursday, today's Tuesday, I'll just use the actual example. Today's Tuesday, November 28th? 28th today? 30th. Where am I?
Yes.
Tuesday, November 30th, and it's 4 days before the new moon, and there's an eclipse coming, and there's all these other layers of information available that are encoded into time that if we can become aware of, it's just more data gives a clearer picture, right? If you think of like a hologram, you can cut a hologram into 1,000 tiny pieces and it's still the same photo, but the resolution goes down, right? The tinier piece you cut, the less resolution you have. So the more pixels you have, the clearer of an image you have of what's really happening. So that's what we're here to do. Does that sound okay? Mm-hmm. Into it? With me? Yes. Okay. So what is time? I'm going to tell you what I think now. And my answer to that is time is a vortex. It's basically exactly what you said. I was about to say, like, because you were even making the motion of a vortex. I was about to be like, is there a shape that goes with that? Are you describing a shape?
It's funny you said like the whole like the time doesn't like repeat itself, but it sort of seems to rhyme because I like make hip hop beats and stuff. So but funny.
Yeah, right. And isn't it interesting that this is what's so pleasing in music is there's a pattern that then changes slightly. So it's familiar, but then different. Familiar and then a little bit different. And that's what makes music so exciting. It's like, oh, it's this. Oh, that wasn't quite what I was expecting, but it's still harmonic. So there's somebody way smarter than me has said something like, if art is how we decorate space, music is how we decorate time.
I was gonna say time. Another way one word I would use to describe it is relative. It's relative to whatever. It's like just like you were saying, the adjustments and like how music has seemed to repeat itself, but in different kind of formats. It's time is relative to whatever it's kind of progressed into.
Yeah, and this is Einstein, right? It's relative. It's a relative universe. Everything is relative only to some other reference point. Yes.
One thing I've experienced that I love is when I'm really into something, whether it's like either painting or coding are the only two places I've really experienced it. But if I'm only interested in painting or only interested in the code I'm writing, time doesn't exist. And I disappear.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know how 4 hours went by.
Right.
And I just don't even know that I had a body.
Yeah.
It's just what I'm doing is the only thing that's there, and I'm in it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get to that place more often.
Right. And so what you're pointing to is one of these distinctions. So one of the things that a vortex is composed of two things, and it has to do with what you said. It has velocity. It's if we just have a circle or a cycle, with no velocity, that's just a circle. And that's not what time is. Time is this circle with velocity. Yeah?
Look at her face.
So it's both, it has a linear component to it. It's going somewhere, January 1st to December 31st, that it moves linearly. And it's cyclical. And these two, it's got these two components to it. Do you want to say something about that?
You're literally verbalizing a vision that I had a couple months ago.
Oh.
It was like the craziest to date. Has been the most craziest download I've had. I was meditating and then just started writing and drawing, and literally what you're describing is what was in my journal that I shared with her. So when you said that it's a circle and it has a thing in the middle, I'm like, oh my god, that's the thing I was talking about, like the little thing, and it spins like this.
Yeah.
But in all directions.
Right. Sounds like you're describing a toroidal field. Wait.
That was real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a real yeah.
This is so dope. Thank you. Carry on.
Totally. Yeah. So, do you want to say something?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
So how is time related to reality? Like, is reality equal time?
What do you mean by reality?
Just like everything that's material that's moving.
Okay.
Like, I mean, when I think of reality, I think of kind of like a similar thing that you're saying, but I don't call that time. I call that like this material reality.
Yeah. Okay.
Like
So,
these,
so this is where we need to be very, very specific about what we're saying.
Right.
Because like material reality is like the densest part of the field, and so in Ayurveda we can talk about this. There is basically this progression of space and time arising almost simultaneously, but space comes first. Space, time, light, and that's ether, air, fire, and then we get to water, which is really like emotion, consciousness, love is a good shorthand for it. And then finally the last one to arise is earth, which is structure, solidity, and form. And so by the time we're talking about material reality, all these other things have already existed. And so, can you repeat what was your original question?
Because like in my head, I see reality as like this kind of like all-encompassing force, right? So like this like ever-moving movement of stuff, whatever that stuff is.
Yeah. So
like I was curious, because like whenever you're saying like of time, like how the measurement of time, to me that'd be like the measurement of reality. So I'm just curious, is that equaling the same thing, like time and reality?
This is a deep philosophical inquiry that you're in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just getting confused in my brain, so I was just asking.
Okay.
How to tie those knots for me.
Cool. So I like just let those questions keep percolating. One of the Ken Kesey says something like, the need for mystery is more important than any answer. And one of the practices I've been invited into the last couple of years is just sitting in the question, and if an answer arises, just take it and you set it on a shelf labeled some of the best ideas ever, and you just set it there and you go back to asking the question and just being suspicious of any answers, and instead looking for responses and having it be part of a conversation.
Right.
And so it's a really good question, and so we'll define some terms as we go here, and let me know how it evolves for you. Okay.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so time is a vortex. Time is spin with directionality. Yeah, spin with velocity. Yeah, and we can see this in the planet. So here my teacher has this quote on the top of your notes here. Time is by its very nature based on the stars and planets. To have a working understanding of the basic features of time, it is important to relate to the universe we live in. And there's a really cool YouTube video that I can send a link to you later if you want. But basically, we have this idea, and so you can see the image on the top right of the front side of your page, where it's the side view of the solar system. That's generally how we think. Like, we make these models of the solar system, and it's the sun and all the planets sort of, within a 7-degree depth, all circling around the sun, right? Nice solar system. What we often forget is that the sun is zooming through space. And as it zooms through space, all the planets are doing their circles, and it's actually creating this vortex field behind it. And there's a super cool YouTube video that somebody made that actually leaves the trails of the planets, and it looks like this big double helix, except it's there are 9 planets, and so it's a non-helix or whatever, right? And so the movement of the planets give us the template for what is time. Because literally, what are we measuring? What is a day, right? It is the Earth spinning once on its axis. Spin. What is a month? The moon doing one loop around the Earth. A move, right? That word moon is in the word month. What is a year? The Earth doing one lap around the sun. So we're literally measuring spin. When we're talking about time, we're talking about spin, which includes this linear dimension to it as well. And that gives us this vortex, this spiral, so that, yes, we come back to the same point relative to the sun every year, but in that year, it's zoomed how many million miles through outer space, right? So this is what we're measuring, and how it rhymes, but it's still not the same. So there's these two components. There's the linear part and the cyclical part, and we can say that the moon really has to do with the cyclical part, and so the what I would propose is that the moon is measuring movement through consciousness, movement through the mind. The sun is measuring movement through space. So think about a clock. What is a clock measuring? When it's ticking, is that measuring time, or is it measuring movement through space? Right? Think the second hand on a clock. What's that measuring? It's just it's a movement through space that it's literally marking out, right? It's a very particular portion of space that it moves, and that's what it's measuring. Yeah. And a clock is actually a great representation of the movement of the sun and moon around the Earth.
It rhymes.
It rhymes.
Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
it's like hours, minutes, seconds.
Okay, cool. Okay, continue.
It
Totally.
rhymes.
Yeah. And so no, it's great. It's great. And so this is and we're going to get into a whole bunch of there's 1,000 different ways to measure different periods of time. There's a solar month and there's a lunar month, right? For the moon to do 360 degrees around the Earth takes, anybody know? 28 days. Women, you have this built into your biology. But how often is there a new moon? It's every 30 and a half days. And so if you think of a clock, if it's noon and the minute hand goes all the way around, it's done 360 degrees, come back to the same point. But in that time, the hour hand has gone 5 minutes to the 1. And so the minute hand has to go that extra distance to catch up with the hour hand. And this is the difference between a lunar month and a solar month, which is 30 and a half days. And these are, it's both a month, but it's a different measurement. It has different qualities. There's different reasons to measure one or the other. And so again, this is one of those things. It's not better or worse. Nothing is right or wrong. It's all true. It's just a matter of having the awareness to make a choice about what you're going to measure. And so there's that. There's one more thing that I want to mention, another type of time, which is biological time. And so we got 3 types of time, right? We've got this linear time, which is, we're going to start at 6 and end at 8, and I was born and the year's going to pass. I'm going to count up, and that's going to be my age. This is this linear movement through time. The clock marking off sections of time. We have sort of mental time, emotional time, psychological time, which is, I am afraid to mispronounce your name in the back there. Nivedita. Nivedita.
Yeah.
Nivedita. I can say that. When you're talking about coding or getting lost in time, like that's psychological time, right? Linear time hasn't changed. Linear time marches on. Everything keeps spinning, moving through space. But psychological time is this more relative thing that time can, if you think of it like a river, like there are rapids, there are little eddies where it slows down and pools out. And one of the key concepts in this work is to understand that the same way space has different qualities, this room invites certain activities different than a bowling alley, different than a kitchen, right? The way that we choose to organize space suggests certain activities. Time also has not just a quantitative quality where we're just counting it, but it has a qualitative aspect. There are times when it's moving really quickly, times when it's slow and deep. And so this is we're gonna get into how to actually know the difference and when these natural cycles suggest certain activities. So then there's biological time, and biology is the study of living beings. If you come across someone in distress, you just see someone pass out on the ground, what's the first thing you're gonna do to check if they're alive? Check their pulse.
Breathing.
Yeah. But they could be breathing but still have a pulse. They could not be breathing and still have a pulse, right? So that pulse, like we consider that when we die, our heart stops. That's the basic indicator, right? And so that the beating of our heart is sort of like the metronome of our living body, right? And you can just, just sort of keeps the beat of our life. And this fact blew my mind when I first learned it. Did you know that when blood circulates through veins and arteries, it moves in the shape of a vortex?
Nice.
Because of course it does. It's the most efficient way for liquid to move through space. And so your blood is spiraling through your veins and arteries. Every beating of your heart sends this acceleration, is like a whole swarm of spirals, and so it's like a little solar system in every nook and cranny of your body has this flood of spirals. So this is biological time measured by the heartbeat, and it just perfectly mirrors the external cosmos within your own living body. So that. And for me, that this is my primary meditation practice these days. Is when I sit down, I tune into my heartbeat, see if I can physically feel my heartbeat, and then see if I can feel my heartbeat in every part of my body, and sort of see if I can synchronize this pulsing, and then I just imagine spirals. Goes really well.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna get into some technical data here. You guys ready for that part?
Yeah.
Any questions, comments, concerns, enthusiasm to share before we dive in there?
No idea.
Okay.
It's amazing. Keep going.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Keep going. You might be other guys Tyson to me right now. Just saying.
Okay. So, there are lots of different, we can choose any span of time to measure, and there's a cycle to match it. One of the largest periods of time that it even makes sense for the human mind to comprehend is this, what's called the galactic or the Great Year. And this is a period of 25,920 years. And there's lots of cultures around the world that some call it 24,000, some call it 26,000. But really, this number, 25,920, is the number I go with for the reason that this is how long it takes to do a complete cycle of the zodiac. So, the precession of the equinoxes is the other name for this. And it takes that almost 26,000 years to go all the way around. And so on your sheet here, this on the right-hand side of the front page, this globe with the Earth in the middle and the zodiac around it, you can see that Earth is on that 23.5 degree tilt, right? And so if you draw a line out the North Pole and down to the out of the South Pole, and then Earth sort of wobbles on its axis with that tilt, it creates that little circle up at the top and at the bottom, which is a little bit fuzzy there, but that says precessional circle. And that wobble makes this great loop. And so the measurement is at sunrise on the spring equinox, the sun rises in a certain area of the sky. Right now it's about 6 degrees of Pisces. There was a time when it would have risen in the sign of Leo about 13,000 years ago. My guess would be that that's when they built the Sphinx facing east. They built a huge lion facing where the sun rises on the spring equinox. Probably this sign rising in the sign of Leo. And so because of this precessional cycle, where the sun rises very gradually drifts, and every 72 years it moves 1 degree. So if you took a picture every spring equinox, after 72 years, about the length of a human life, it moves 1 degree. And there are, of course, 360 degrees in the zodiacal circle around us. 360 times 72 is 25,920. So for it to do this is why it's called the Great Year. And we can look back through human history, mythology, and known history and see, for example, there's a story in the Old Testament. Moses is coming down from the mountain with the tablets, and he catches the people worshiping the golden bull, and that's no longer acceptable, and he smashes the tablet and chastises the people for worshiping the bull because it's no longer appropriate to worship the bull. He's just gotten the new information from a burning bush. So which sign is the bull? It's Taurus. And so this story for me marks the end of the age of Taurus and the start of the age of Aries, a fire sign. And so there's a bunch of stories, Old Testament, jealous, angry God sort of vibes. This is a very Aries, Martian kind of God. And then there's a whole bunch of story where Christ, this Christ fella comes along and performs a bunch of miracles with fish. And the Babel fish is like the sign for Christ, right? Age of Pisces. Yeah. And here we are about 2,000 years into the age of Pisces. It takes 2,160 years to go through one sign. So again,
How many?
2,160. So again, 12 signs, 12 times 2,160 is that 25,960 number. So again, here we are sort of getting towards the end of the age of Pisces. And the sun on the spring equinox rises at 6 degrees of Pisces, and it's going backwards. So it's counting 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 30 degrees of Aquarius. Getting close to the age of Aquarius, technically still about 400 years away.
I got all sad about sad.
Yeah.
Honey grudges.
Yeah.
I got a little sad.
Yeah.
I know. I thought it was here.
It was.
Yeah.
It was? No, I
Gotta
don't
be
know.
with him. Like,
Well,
In my heart.
but if you think about it, we're on the, we're almost there. In that larger context of time, we've been through 4/5 of the cycle, and we're in that last 1/5 of the age of Pisces. So that is about the time when the Pisces energy starts to fade or comes to it's like terminal stages, and we can see that the world story that has kept us together and made sense doesn't apply anymore, does it? There's this really incoherent conversation, shall we call it, about what is reality. We've got alternative facts. We've got, there's no agreement on what reality consists of, and so that's one of the markers of the end of an age. And it's like the old story is fading but not gone. The new story is in its just like seed or sprout form, but doesn't really have any weight or can easily be ignored or suppressed or stomped upon. And so we're in that transitional zone on a sort of cosmic time scale. And so that brings me more solace than stress. But I'm with you in feeling a certain amount of urgency. Can we just figure this out? Yeah. And so, but that longer time scale is helpful. So that's the precession of the equinoxes. That's a galactic year. And there's infinitely more things to say about this, but one of the things that comes up is like, how practical is it to study that? How much choice do we have over where in the, you can't really apply your free will to when you were born in the galactic year, can you? It's sort of like you get the hand that you're dealt. It's one of the circumstances that we're born into. So there's a bunch of stuff like that. Pluto takes 248 years to do a complete loop. Saturn takes 29 or 30 years to do a complete loop of the zodiac. And so this is one way to understand a human life and divide it into thirds. Again, like give ourselves 90 years, be generous. The first 30 years, we're figuring out who we are. Around 30, we all sort of go through our Saturn return and have a little crisis, and all of a sudden we're either getting married or breaking up, getting promoted or quitting or going back to school, or there's this sense, and Saturn is the planet that brings the awareness of mortality. It's like, I'm gonna die one day, which your 20s are over. All of a sudden it's like, I'm gonna die one day. I'd better get busy doing what I'm here to do. That's what Saturn wants from us. And so then we spend the next 30 years, ideally, doing that. And then we get to 60 and okay, it's sort of retirement time. And this awareness comes back as like, oh, I'm gonna die like soon. And then the question becomes, how do I make sense? How do I make meaning of this final third of life? And so this is Saturn's cyclical division of a human life. The nodes of the moon, which is a different class, have an 18-year cycle. The nodes are the shadow planets that create an eclipse. So when the shadow goes in front of the sun or moon during an eclipse, that shadow has a point out in space. It always exists in potential, but it's only in the precise moment of alignment during an eclipse that it actually takes form and the shadow becomes real. So that's an 18-year cycle. Jupiter has a 12-year cycle, and I'm feeling this really profoundly right now. It's been 12 years since I first started studying this sort of material, yoga, Ayurveda, Jyotish, and I'm feeling this renaissance in my, I just signed up for a new year-long course next year, and I'm gonna go live with my teacher, and there's this whole renewal. It's like my Jupiter return. Jupiter's Sanskrit name is Guru. It is the teacher and the great, beneficent Guru. And so traditionally in Indian culture, there's this sense of like 12 years. You have to go study with your teacher for 12 years before you're allowed to go and practice or teach or so really learn anything is a 12-year cycle. Numerology gives us 9-year cycles. Sorry?
Oh no, I'm just talking about.
Okay,
It's like high
yeah.
school.
It's like high school. Same.
Like it's
Right, there are
elementary to high school
elementary
is
to high
12
school.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grades 1 through 12. Sure is.
Sorry.
Sure thing. No, that's a great example. Yeah. Numerology gives us 9-year cycles because there really are only 9 numbers, right? What happens when you get to 9? The next one is a 1 again. 1 and a 0. Just the next octave up, right? So we're working our way down to something a little more practical. And so the sun gives us, how long is the cycle of the sun?
30-ish?
3.5? No, 3.5.
I would give a cycle of the sun, I would just call it 1 year.
Oh, because it's
Yeah,
It's-
not the month.
5.25.
It's yeah.
And then
It's not a clear question. I'm sorry, I could have phrased that differently. But yeah, it takes the Earth 1 year to go around the sun, and we again we're just gonna coast right by because we can talk about seasonal routines, and Ayurveda is a very deep science of seasonal routines and aligning habits with the time of year, and we can see, just to mark like the markers of a year are the solstices and equinoxes. And the reason that the solstices and equinoxes and even the seasons exist is because of that 23-degree tilt of the Earth just off its axis, right? So there's times when we're in the northern hemisphere leaning away from the sun, leaning towards the sun, and then sort of halfway in between. And that's what creates the season and these sort of 4 points of the year. And it's like that's what creates the processional, the great year, and it's what creates our microcosmic year. And so just again to understand, these are as like so infinitely complex as this is, it is a vortex. There's this, if you imagine a vortex above you, there's a huge outer circle and then a smaller one, and a smaller and smaller, smaller, right? And so that's all this is. The macro mirrors the micro, and vice versa.
Did you say when you would put like a new year inside of this understanding?
There's a variety of measurements for that. Some people choose the spring equinox.
Okay.
The Vedic calendar typically there's like several New Year's events, but typically it is the first new moon after the winter solstice.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's like the sun has died,
Yeah.
been reborn, come out the other side, and then when the next cycle starts, the new moon being
Well
that
said.
sort of alignment, and that's
So
when
it'd
we.
be around that January
It's like,
time
yeah,
zone or
yeah.
whatever, right
First,
around that
usually
time.
it's the first or second week of January.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And then there's also something called Makara Sankranti, which is when the sun moves into the sign of Capricorn, which is usually mid-January, and so that's also one of the markers. Considered the most auspicious day of the year. Like if you're going to start something, don't do it on January 1st.
Yeah.
Do it on January 14th.
Is that the actual day this year?
I believe it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mark you.
Yeah, totally. Because that's really this like, yeah, it's a very, very auspicious day.
And what was, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you said January 14th, and how do we know that that's the day?
That is the day the sun will move into the sign of Capricorn.
Sweet, thank
Yep.
you.
Who are you learning this from? Someone in India?
My primary teacher is a guy named Freedom Cole, who is in the lineage of Sanjay Rath. So yeah, from Orissa. Yeah. Okay, so there's never enough time.
So deep.
So
So much.
let's get into let's really get into it here. Okay, so how do we organize a day? This is, and so let's turn these sheets over. And again, there's way more information on these sheets than we're going to be able to cover. But really, okay, let's look at a week first. A week is based on the progression of the planets. And so each of the 7 planets visible with the naked eye from Earth rule one day of the week. And this is, you can see this in cultures all over the world. Almost any calendar system you use uses 7 days of the week. This is almost a universal measurement tool. And so each planet rules one day of the week. Who can name a day of the week? What planet rules a day?
Venus rules Friday.
Venus rules Friday. Sure does. Does that make sense to you?
No, just my best friend tells me all the time.
Okay. So what sort of things happen on Friday?
She says it's lovely and it's like, day of love. I don't know.
Yeah. And so
it's like happy day.
everybody loves Fridays.
Yeah.
Thank God it's Friday. We're going to a party. We're relaxing. There's this release. We're allowed to focus on our own pleasure. It's all about pleasure and enjoyment, right? Venus. Sunday. Yeah. The sun rules Sunday. It sure does. And the sun is our transcendental self, right? The sun shines on everyone equally. And so there's this like generosity and expansiveness. And Sundays, it's like the sun just shines. It's just what it does, right? And so Sunday is this day where sort of anything can happen. You can relax all day and you're fine because it's Sunday. Or it's also a good day to like do work actually and to be of service and be generous and magnanimous and be big and sporting events on Sunday, right? Everybody, the spotlight, the light shines on the athletes and these big events that happen on Sunday.
No, we're not elaborate.
Okay.
Just going with you on this.
Cool. Yeah.
Ride with you.
What's another? What else we got?
Monday moon.
Monday. Moon day. Yeah.
Lunes, luna. Oh, yeah.
Lunes. Yeah. Exactly. Lundi. Yeah.
Wait, does that make Saturn for Saturday?
In Italian.
Saturn for Saturday. Sure does.
It does.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now I know.
Saturn day. Yeah. Just to go back to the moon for a moment. I believe it's one of the greatest conspiracies of the patriarchy to make everybody hate Monday.
Well, I don't think we should work on Monday.
Okay.
I agree.
I think we should all have Monday off.
It's feminine.
Yeah. Yeah. The sun is the king father. The moon is the queen mother. And
We're taking that back.
yeah. Yeah.
I know. I'm not working this Monday or this year on Mondays, and I'm like, oh, I feel so good.
Yeah.
hate women.
Yeah.
I don't want to do the day weekend.
And so the Gregorian calendar is this solar-based calendar, right? It's strictly based on the relationship between the Earth and the Sun. Gregorian calendar does not incorporate any measurements from the moon. And this is why the Vedic Hindu calendar, the Indian calendar, is so genius because it's a luna-solar calendar. It incorporates both. It's got the linearity. Like Gregorian is strictly linear, right? The only cycle we really keep is the leap year every 4 years, just to wind the clock a little bit, right? And so the luna-solar, you've got there are 13 lunations in a year, but 12 solar months, right? And so it's a little bit, it's not just a circle, it's not just a line, it's a circle with a line moving through it. And so there's greater intelligence in a calendar that accounts for that. And again, it's like, this is the way that patriarchy is literally encoded into how we all agree to measure time. So it's literally a revolutionary thing to reclaim this awareness and make choices about how you allocate your energy based on your understanding of what are the qualities, not just the quantity of time available. Yeah?
Yeah.
So Sunday should be an active day.
Active day.
and
Monday should be a
rest.
yeah.
Yes.
We can
Yeah.
do that all on our
Fully.
own. We should just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry,
And-
I can't do anything.
Sorry.
It's time for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Price is closed.
Absolutely.
Sundays I've always felt interesting. I don't know, that's just like, that's the indoctrinated way that's been.
Right, and you almost don't have much of a choice, right? The way that society is set up, you're strongly incentivized to not do anything on Sunday.
Right.
Which again, like, it's not a conspiracy. It's just the way we've evolved, and in our sort of confused moment in time, the sun is the source of all our power. There's no life without the sun. It is the source of energy for everything. The plants, the animals, us, everything exists because of the sun. And so it's this very sort of just like opposite thing to like, oh, on the day when, the day dedicated to celebrating the great source of power in our local solar system, we're encouraged to like sleep all day.
And praise Jesus. That's a big part of it.
That's a big,
thing.
that part makes sense.
That part. Because you gotta give all your energy to that dude.
The sun.
Why did you have to bring Jesus up?
What is just him?
Yeah, but like praising the son of God,
Yeah.
the sun God
Jesus.
on Sunday is perfectly appropriate. I'm a fan of that, actually. Of course, there's lots of, how is different than the what, for sure, yeah. Like sun salutations would be the way I go about it. Waking up at sunrise and offering a bowl of water. This is the classical, like,
Wait, I missed it.
okay, the classical, most simple way to worship the sun is to be up before sunrise, and at sunrise offer a bowl of water.
Daily
A
or
bowl
just
of
Sundays?
No, just Sunday. Oh.
depends on how intense you want to go.
Okay.
Up to you. If you're gonna do it one day a week, do it on Sunday. It's the sun's day.
My grandmother
Yeah. Does she do that?
used to do all of this stuff, and
Yeah.
I never asked her about it. Where'd it go?
She's here.
That is so, okay, I love that. I'm going to do
We can talk later about what it's like to hear it repeated back to you by a white man.
What a trip.
It's just as confusing for me.
Your perception of it.
Keeping it real, man. Keeping it real, I like it.
Yeah.
I have questions.
How long do I keep the water outside? Like when the sun is up, do I drink it?
Specific.
What, you drink it?
No, I drinks it all. Just about.
Yeah.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
You should just leave it out.
You
I'm
could.
so slow right now.
So this is where I would encourage your own intuition.
Okay.
What feels good? One thing you could do is offer that bowl of water at sunrise, meditate until the sun is like fully up, and then offer the water to your plants.
Sun charge.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
How do you do you know how we do it with the moon?
Yeah. So we're in Arizona. I'm sure everybody loves sunbathing, but has anybody ever been moonbathing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So the way to worship the moon, I mean, there's so many ways. So first of all, there are moon salutations. It's a whole different set of asana, right? Brilliant. My Ayurvedic teacher taught me about moonbathing, and she gets all poetic and sort of sways and talks about, oh yeah, you want to wear all white and drink milk from a silver goblet and go up on the roof on a full moon and just bathe in the rays. And so all the white, the silver, all these things, rose, and just luxuriate and sing and compose poetry, recite poetry to the moon, all these very like romantic, sweet things the moon really appreciates. And that's sort of best done on a new moon or on a full moon, but Monday is also a good time to do that. Yeah. Okay, so I want to tell you a little story about the progression of the planets. So there's this whole life cycle in the progression of the planets, and it's not literally the order they're in space. So let's just set our scientific minds aside and run with the mythological metaphor here. Okay, so sun and moon are the father and mother, archetypal king and queen, and they get together, and through the combined power of the sun, which is the fire element, the moon, which is really water, we have life on Earth. And we can think of Earth as the child, right? 3 is the magic number. Mom and dad had a little baby, that makes 3 in the family. And so then, okay, so sun, moon, Sunday, Monday, and we have life. The first requirement of life before anything else happens is protection. Who cares what else happens? If that life gets snuffed out right away, then we're done. And so we have Mars. Mars is the warrior. Martes. Yeah. And 2 is the Nordic god of war, the equivalent to Mars. And so that's where we get Tuesday. And so the motivation of Mars is to protect us. It wants to destroy that which would attack us, that which would make us vulnerable. And so Tuesday is good for aggressive things. If you need to power through something, if you need to end a relationship,
Do it on
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Today's the day.
You know?
What is it?
And like just generally like
Tuesday.
fierce things. You know, and there's a big difference between a soldier and a warrior. And Mars, you know, there's shadow and light, right? So the soldier just does what he's told and destroys things. The warrior, think like more like a samurai, super skillful, and sometimes there's severe action, fierceness that is appropriate. That aggression or fierceness actually creates safety. That's the ideal expression of Mars, is that the soldier's strength to create safety. That's what Mars wants to do. Okay, so we've got life and we've got some protection. Once we're alive and safe enough, we get curious. Oh my God, life is so interesting. There's so many things going on. And this is Mercury. Mercredi. And so Wednesday is Mercury's day. And this is a great day for study, a great day, like if you have a podcast, conduct your interviews on Wednesday. Sorry?
Said heard for her.
Yeah, man.
She heard it.
Write
it down.
Yeah. And so Mercury is the planet, like just, Mercury doesn't make any value judgments. The key phrase for Mercury is, oh, that's so interesting. Oh, I'm really curious about that. It's so interesting. I always think of like, Mercury is the one who would go up to would be at a dinner party in Berlin in the 30s and be like, so Adolf, I hear you're a vegetarian. And an artist? You're an artist too? And you give these speeches, like these speeches motivate so many, it's amazing. How do you do it? No judgment, just curiosity. There's no value judgment. This is good information, this is bad information. Just give me all the data.
And who is that again?
That's Mercury.
Mercury.
Yeah, color green.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, we need colors too.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you can do colors. Okay, so the sun would be gold
I like
or
this.
red.
Gold.
Okay.
Sunday. And so this is there have been long periods of my life where I dress according to the day.
Yeah,
I just go monochrome.
Yeah. That sounds like me.
So like gold or red for the sun, gold or orange really. For the moon, silver, white. Mars, red. It's the red planet, right? You can always identify Mars in the sky because it has like a red tint to it.
And green is what again?
Green would be
Second.
Mercury.
What's Tuesday?
Tuesday is Mars.
Oh, balls.
Sunday, Moon Day,
I know.
Mars Day.
So many questions on Wednesday.
Wednesday is Mercury, and so with Mercury we're collecting data, figuring out all this information, but not making any value judgments. but eventually we need to decide, okay, this is good information, this is bad information, this is right and this is wrong. And this is where Jupiter comes in. Jupiter is the guru, the great teacher, the one who can say, hey, this is correct, this is incorrect, this is moral, this is immoral. Jupiter rules religion and philosophy and these sorts of things. And so this is Thursday. My teacher always has class on Thursday. That's just like, just sets class every day, all year, every week, all year, Thursday. And the color is yellow. Yellow is the color of the student. Yeah.
What was the color of Wednesday?
Green.
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 What was the color?
Jupiter.
Thursday.
Yeah. And then once we've made these value judgments, we have all the information, we know what's right and wrong, then it's like, then we can enjoy life. We're safe, we know where we are, we know what's going on, we have orientation. It's like, oh, life is pleasurable. It feels like our bodies are designed to be pleasurable, right? We've got these 5 senses and they're amazing. Best virtual reality game ever. And so there's all sorts of tastes and touches and smells and all these things that are available to us. This is Venus, Friday. Pink, purple, rainbow, sparkles, neon, like silk, gold, these luxurious things. Venus is Aphrodite, right? She wants to be worshipped and serenaded and this sort of thing. And then life is pleasurable and it's beautiful and it's all a celebration. Then you die, and that's Saturn. Saturn is the planet of time.
Oh my God.
And really, Saturn is the planet of limitation. Jupiter expands everything, Saturn contracts. Saturn makes us aware of our limitations. We have limited time, energy, money, limited resources, and based on those limitations, we have to set priorities, right? If we had unlimited time, money, energy, then nothing we did would matter, basically. Right? Because we could do whatever, whenever, and if we don't do it now, we can do it later, who cares? But Saturn is the planet of time, and time is our number one limiting factor. We're only here for a certain amount of time. We're already running out of it. Like, is anybody upset if we go 15 minutes over? Is that okay? That won't hurt anyone's feelings?
At this point, you can keep me here until you don't share.
Okay. Well, I'll do my best. We're gonna get through as much of this as possible.
What's the color of Saturday?
Yeah.
Is it black?
Dark blue. The black sort of goes with it, but really it's like the blue of the night sky.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah. So that's your week. And again, infinitely more things to say about it, but the invitation would be to track, do you have a favorite day of the week? What day of the week were you born on? On a Saturday? Great. You maybe have a very friendly relationship with time. No?
She really does.
Maybe you potentially have a friendly relationship with time.
Switch it, buddy. Reframe.
There's hope.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so, one of the things that's been really helpful to me over the years is as a journaling practice, just daily, checking in, and really I use the moon cycles as well. Days of the week and phase of the moon, and how did it go? And it can be as simple as a 1 through 5, like mood, energy, appetite, libido are 4 really key measurements, right? That if you just do a 1 through 5 on those 4 things, you'll see them ebb and flow throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year. Yeah. And just key measurements for health. What did I say? Mood, appetite, sleep, libido.
Energy,
Yeah.
appetite, libido.
Yeah.
You said sleep.
Sleep is another one. A good one. In Ayurveda, primary 3 things: appetite, sleep, libido. Yeah. And libido, of course, has that sexual connotation, but it's also like lust for life. And this like verve, like, oh, I want to get out there and create something. That. So that's a week. Let's get into a day, and see how we can divide up the day. Are the concepts of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha familiar, or do we want to talk about what those are?
I'm not familiar with it, but I don't want to
Okay.
throw everyone up.
I'm feeling Saturn is working on me. I'm feeling the pressure of our limited time, and wanting to just need to.
Love Saturn.
Yeah, you watch your mouth, young man. That is the general attitude. Saturn is generally the most feared planet, but instead of, usually people worship Saturn for that reason. So, okay, let's go through. So basically, there are two. Okay, in this wheel, you see this wheel today. Let's just look at that, and there's a lot of information encoded in this. Of course, it's way prettier when it's in color, but. So this is a map of the day. And so you've got sunrise on the left-hand side there. And then it goes, and this is basically tracking as the sun moves. It rises into the 12th, 11th, 10th, 9th houses, 10th and 9th houses, sun directly overhead. And then it starts to set on the right-hand side there, and then goes down and is then directly under us. And you can see in the center there's 4 arrows pointing to overhead, underfoot, east, and west. So in theory, we are on Earth in the center there, and from our perspective, the sun rises, goes overhead, sets, and goes under us, right? Always important to remember the reality that the sun is not moving so much as we are spinning. This is just, and again, another invitation for practice would be to, at sunrise or sunset, see if you can literally perceive that reality. It's not the sun moving, it's the earth turning.
I just felt that when you said it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this little meditation we did at the beginning is a good way to, you can sort of imagine it, and that makes it really easy to feel it. And it's most of the most mind-blowing experiences of my life are watching the sunset and literally feeling I can feel the earth turning. And it's a profound, magical, cosmic experience that's very grounded as well. So that's a fun one.
Yeah.
So the inner circle, we've got the times of day divided into 2-hour segments.
Yeah.
And so Ayurveda divides the day into 6 portions of 4 hours. And so there are 3 doshas. These are the sort of bioenergetic structures that Ayurveda is based on. Not going to spend the time to go into it today. It's a different class. I'll come back.
Yay! Love it.
And we'll do a whole thing into Ayurveda. We can go into the Ayurvedic times of day. But basically for each of the 3 doshas, there's a light and a dark. There's Pitta at noon, Pitta at midnight. Kapha in the morning, Kapha in the evening, Kapha at supper time. Vata in the early morning, Vata in the late afternoon. And so each dosha runs its cycle twice every day. So we're just gonna set that aside, and we're gonna spend the rest of our time diving into the houses. And so houses are one of the 3 primary calculations that we use in Vedic astrology. We'll look at planets, signs, and houses. So one way to think, can you picture the Pink Floyd logo, the white light going through the prism? So the planets are like the white light. They're the energetic force. The signs are the prism, the filter through which that light moves. And so, the sun as this energy gets filtered through Leo or Libra right? And the rays that come out the other side vary based on that angle. Does that make sense? The houses are the area of life that are impacted. So if we think of the sun is the theme, or like, so for example, the sun is the king, and the king, same character, behaves very differently whether he's on his throne in his own courtroom versus in the marketplace alone without his crown. Same character, different behavior. That's the planet and the sign. The house then, okay, so that's like a whole energetic structure, right? So let's say we've got the king in the marketplace without his crown. But is that going to show up in your relationship life, or your home life, or your professional life, or with your enemies, or with your pets, or with your friends, or in your spiritual life? That's the house. That's houses. Which area of life is impacted by these energies? So the houses, going through this very quickly, I apologize. The houses are these fixed portions of the sky. And that's what this is a map of. So the first house, which is the rising sign, the ascendant, is the eastern horizon.
Okay.
Always just below the eastern horizon. And so no matter what stars, what planets, what sign are moving through, the eastern horizon is that first house. And the first house is the physical body. It is, how we chose to incarnate this time. It's where we start our life. It's our primary reference point. And so ideally, at sunrise, we're awake and taking care of our physical body. We wake up and we go to the bathroom, eat, exercise, physical, personal things.
Yeah.
Because so the other caveat to all this is this map is based on either the spring or the fall equinox. It assumes a 6 a.m. sunrise and a 6 p.m. sunset. Not every day is like that. And so this map actually sort of like squeezes and folds as the days get longer and shorter. But this is sort of like our archetypal map.
Yeah.
But basically after sunrise, the 12th house is foreign lands. It's outside our perspective. So basically like, get up before sunrise, take care of your personal stuff because it's time to leave the house. Go for a walk, commute to work, or the other thing is, it can be physically distant lands or philosophical, psychologically distant lands. So it really is, get outside yourself.
From which time to which time?
That is 6 to 8 a.m., the 12th house in this map.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see how that works?
Yes.
So we get out. Okay.
So get up and get out. So get up, take care of yourself.
Yeah, during the first.
And we're, as we make it all the way around, we're going to see that actually the ideal time to get up is in the second house.
I'm sorry, 2 to 4?
Yeah.
Damn. She tries to do that, and I think it's crazy.
Yeah. 2 to 3 hours before sunrise.
My mom.
Yeah. Is the ideal. And there's a whole thing, modern science is validating this. So the second house, we'll just back up a little bit. Second house has to do with nourishment and like inherited wealth. And there's the whole thing, a bunch, like these bodybuilders will wake up at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, chug a protein shake and go back to bed or go work out. It's literally, it's the time where, for whatever, biologically, based on our circadian rhythms, we're most able to absorb nutrients.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And we're just like, we rapidly integrate and we're just ready to soak up all that nutrition.
I know you'll get to bed. When should we go to bed then?
We're around 10.
I just need to hear it to make sense of this information.
Yeah, so sometime in the 5th house, usually. 10 p.m. So in the
That's okay.
before 10 p.m. You want to be asleep
I only
before.
want to sleep at 7. You're breaking me up at 2.
So there's an Ayurvedic proverb that says, every hour of sleep before midnight
Yeah.
is worth 2 hours of sleep after midnight.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you should have been hearing.
I'm sorry. I was excited by the fact that like my bedtime and my rising time are exactly what you just said. So I'm super excited that like intuitively those are the times that I chose and I rocked with.
See, you are friends with Saturn. You don't even know it.
There you go.
3:30. Like when I'm on top of my shit, 3:30 I'm up and I'm going. I go to bed at 10. Yeah, like I turn off my electronics at 9 p.m. I'm in bed and asleep by 10, and I'm up at 3:30, and I'm ready to rock and like.
You nap?
No, ma'am.
Is it not wise to turn on electronics at work at 3 a.m.? Or
No,
before
don't
the-
do it.
So I would generally advise against that. That's a Vata time of day. Vata is the air element, and there's some cool research about that 3 hours before sunrise is a time called Brahma Muhurta, and the classic texts say this is the most potent time for spiritual practice.
Yes.
The veil is thin, and there's this cool research. So again, if you think about the Earth turning relative to the sun, that means it's always sunrise somewhere, right? So there's this wave of light and heat that sweeps across the planet. It's always just sweeping across the planet, and there's this like front-running wave where electromagnetism gets a little bit wonky, and they've tested satellite transmission and receivers at this time, and it's amplified drastically. Like these little like ham radios can all of a sudden broadcast across the country. In that little window, this electromagnetic anomaly that front runs the wave of light and heat that sweeps across the planet. And so there's a whole bunch of information encoded in the sun's rays, right? And so this is Brahma Muhurta, the 2 hours before sunrise has this really special quality. And anybody who's stayed up or gotten up in those precious hours, it's quiet. There is something sacred about it. Whether you want to, it's for me the most universally accessible sense of sacredness.
Yeah.
Anybody who's up at 4 a.m. is like, whoa. Even if I've been up all night, it's still like, whoa. It's special now. Yeah. So that's the thing. So get up for it.
Sorry, I had missed what you were sharing earlier on because I was over here excited.
It was like 2 hours of this and 2 hours of that.
1 hour of sleep before midnight is worth 2 hours of sleep after midnight.
Oh.
So
1 hour of sleep before midnight
Is worth 2 hours of sleep.
So like if you were to sleep from 9 p.m. to midnight,
Which is what I want.
yeah, that's about the same as sleeping from 12 to 6. In theory, right? That's the way the proverb goes. And we don't, I find with a lot of these things, it's less helpful to be literal about it than like, you get the energetic sense of it. And it helps to prioritize getting to bed. And so Pitta is the fire element in Ayurveda. And you see Pitta rules high noon, basically, right? From 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. When we are most productive, ambitious, the sun is strongest, highest power. Sorry?
10 to 2.
10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Yeah.
I
And
love that should be the when we work only.
yeah, absolutely.
I am so about that.
Yep.
Yeah. Just say.
And just be efficient.
Yep.
The sun has the capacity to burn through. It's when our digestion is strongest. It's when we've got our highest discernment and the energy is up and so that's the bright Pitta time. The dark Pitta time is 10 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Yep, that's me.
And so ideally we're asleep in those hours, and the fire that lives within us, the Agni, the digestive fire, is digesting the day, digesting all the leftover food. Sort of the night cleaning crew comes into the body and scrubs everything down and gets us ready for the next day. But if we've gone to bed with a full stomach, that process gets backed up. Or if we're still awake, can't tell you, it sounds like this is a familiar story. How many times have I been yawning and falling asleep at 9:15, but my screen is open, all of a sudden it's 10:15 and I'm starting a new project. I've got a new idea. Oh, I should do this thing. And I get all excited and it's like, oh, I'm gonna wake up at 6 tomorrow and do it. Except nope, it's 2 a.m. and I've just been working on it. And so that dark pit of time can be some of the most inspiring hours. And there is something about burning the midnight oil, and if you can use it skillfully, right? And if you make a habit of it, it can be really debilitating. Your body gets way behind. You've got a whole bunch of undigested food and mucus, and so those are really precious hours for rest. Yes?
No, it's called Amma.
Amma. Yes.
When did you say eat last and eat first?
So I ideally eat dinner before 6 p.m. Yeah, or before sunset.
Yeah.
Eat while the sun is still up.
And
The fire is still in the sky.
When's your first meal? At 10 or?
4 a.m.
4 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm kidding because I don't practice that, but that is like according to circadian rhythms, and according to this, the second house is the mouth
it's
and
nutrients.
food and nutrients and nutrition, and that's from 2 to 4 actually. Yeah. So it's those very early morning hours when we're most ready to absorb, and so again, this is part of Brahma Muhurta, absorb spiritual nutrition. But then again, before kapha time, like generally eating during kapha time, kapha is earth and water and is heavy and dense and stable. Not the best time to eat.
When's that? Not the best time?
That's 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. or 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And so
Most people have breakfast in that.
most people have breakfast at that time. So
3 meals.
there's some sense, and like that's also usually when people drink coffee. If you're gonna drink coffee between 6 and 10 a.m.,
Do it then.
do it then, because it's kapha time. You've got the sort of resilience, in theory, depending on your individual constitution. There's some people who should just never drink coffee.
That's me.
And yeah, the hummingbird is funny. That was you, honey. You were the gecko. Okay,
Yeah.
both definitely vata animals. Vata animals.
What about for the cats in here?
For the
Uh,
cats.
I'm Kapha, so I'm a jaguar.
Cats.
I'm
I
Kapha.
quit drinking coffee.
Cats
that's
are
good.
cats are pretty tridoshic, you know. I think that's another class. I think I'll come back.
Please keep doing
Yeah, totally. How are we doing on time?
This every Thursday, because that's the day we live.
Every Thursday. Yeah.
I'm very curious on Wednesdays though.
Okay. So okay, we've gotten to like high noon, right?
Okay.
So okay, we've woken up at between 2 and 4, had something like a protein shake, right? Something light that doesn't weigh us down, that nourishes us, full of nutrition, so then we can still be like light and clear to sit in meditation for the sunrise hours.
Yeah.
We take care of our personal business. The sun comes up, we leave the house, or we somehow we get outside ourselves. We take care of our business so that we can get outside ourselves, think about the world as a whole. It's a good time to like make your plan for the day.
Yeah.
Think about what the world needs from you that day. Basically get over yourself and think about what you're gonna go do in the world. Yeah?
I was gonna say, a big part of my anxiety that I carried my entire life, and this has kind of come over the paradigm shift of me making some large changes in my life, is that the anxiety came from like procrastination, and now I've literally just completely forcibly thrown myself into prepping for things and like just kind of staying ready, and like the more time that I have before I have to go do something, and like the less like I've known myself to get ready very quickly and get out the door and get there, but if I can allow myself that buffer time,
Spaciousness there.
that anxiety is like,
Yeah.
so, and as soon as I changed that habit, because I hated that habit of just like, but the more preparation time.
And this is the benefit of waking up early in the morning.
Yeah.
You have the spaciousness, you can take care of all your stuff.
Yep.
So you can then be ready and available for what the world wants and needs from you. And the beauty of this as well is there's time for everything in the day, and we're gonna keep going through it just to cover it. But if I know that there's this 2-hour portion of the day that is specifically primed for socializing and connecting with my friends, and this is the time when it's most likely to be as sort of nourishing and beneficial as possible, then I don't have to worry about that when it's time to work.
Yeah.
There's time for it later, so I can focus on what I'm doing now. Where I get anxious is when it's everything all at once, and I'm trying to respond to a text and make a phone call and plan for the future and feed myself and that's what gets overwhelming. And so that's where the again we're gonna touch on all these, but the framework that I want to offer you, the sort of what I imagine as the primary takeaway from this is the day is divided into 2-hour portions according to the 12 houses of astrology. Each house has a very particular focus, energy, and it's like, you know, you're obviously, you can do whatever you want whenever you want, right? You could go to the grocery store at 3 a.m. You're most likely to get what you want out of that experience if you go when it's open. You can go to church any time of the week. You're most likely to get a nourishing experience out of it if you go at 10 a.m. on Sunday, right? So timing amplifies impact and can minimize unnecessary friction. You know, if you have a choice, are you going to drive home during rush hour or before or after, right? Timing matters. And so knowing that there are these 2-hour portions of the day, to the extent that you can control it, you can choose which activity when, and all of the psychological research shows that the human attention span is 90 minutes max, right? Basically, all the Hollywood movies prove it, right? Why do they spend billions of dollars on movies that are 90 minutes long? Because that's how long we can sustain attention. Obviously, you can force it, but at that point, you're sort of draining yourself. So I'm pushing my luck here at 2 hours, right? But so knowing, okay, 90-minute attention span within a 2-hour period gives me 15 minutes of transition on either side. And then if you build that into the next 2-hour portion, you've got 15 minutes transition out, 15 minutes transition in, 90 minutes of focused effort on whatever it is, another 30 minutes of transition, 90 minutes of effort, and that is how I do my best to schedule my day, so that I've set this structure for myself in these 90-minute portions, and 90 minutes goes quickly. And it's another one of those things where, especially if there's something I don't want to do, it's only 90 minutes. And I'll just work on it, and my ADD self, 20 minutes in, will be like, I'm gonna do something else. Like, no, like, am I done with this? No. So it's just another hour. Keep going. And all of a sudden there's only 15 minutes left in that, and it becomes so much easier where it's just this little bit, just a little portion of time that becomes so manageable, and then I know I've got a break. Building in that spaciousness, those breaks, is counterintuitive. My friend Gina Caputo, amazing yoga teacher based in Boulder, she's more than a yoga teacher as well, but she posted this graphic, 2 pie graphs. One saying what I thought would make me successful, and that pie graph is just one solid color, hard work. The second pie graph is what actually makes me successful, and that pie graph is a whole bunch of different colors, and it's hard work and rest and fun and play and friendship and food and all the and rest, breaks being a key component of that. And so that's really the main thing I want to leave you with, and then I wish we had more time to dive into the particular qualities of each area of the day. But
Go through them quickly.
yeah. Let's do it right now. So okay, 12th house. Just you got to go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. We'll see you next time. So let's just start fresh. Second house, we're having a smoothie and meditating. Waking up, drinking something light, giving ourselves the energy to then do our spiritual practice, honor the new day, the new life. We then take care of our personal business so that when the sun is up, 12th house comes along, we can think about what the world needs from us, get over ourselves, think about the larger society, the whole cosmos, and who am I? What am I really doing here? What does it mean to be a human on Earth? And this sort of philosophical framing that then informs what action to take. The 11th house is about...
Really quick, sorry,
yeah.
that first house, did we just skip over, or is that when we're taking care of our
That's
business?
body,
Okay.
self. Capital S, self-care.
Okay.
Are you supposed to do rigorous exercise in this time?
You said the 12th, or no? First.
Yeah, I mean, I would generally put vigorous exercise, either in that 12th house, 12th or 11th, or in the 6th house, like sort of sunset time, the dark kapha time. Vigorous exercise is great during kapha time. You have the stamina, stability, and the sort of fortitude to deal with it.
Okay.
But vata time is okay, but tends, like, if you're gonna go running during vata time, you're gonna get vata provoked. Too much wind in your ears. And so it's better to meditate and do grounding thing, but asana, doing asana at any time of the day is fine. That's the other sort of caveat to all this is taking intelligent action is always wise. There's always a good time to meditate and pray. There are more auspicious moments, and perhaps you shouldn't be meditating and praying when you should be giving a presentation to your boss, but whatever. Okay. We've gone outside ourselves. The 11th house is about social reputation. It's about friends. It's about your society as a whole. And so this is the time you've sort of gone outside yourself, and it's like, my mom is a great business person, and her advice was always like, first thing, make 3 phone calls. Doesn't matter to who, just get up and make 3 phone calls. Just start connecting with people. Send outgoing messages, produce something. And first thing in the morning is the best time to do creative work. Write things down, as opposed to like putting on a podcast right away or something to receive something. Get up and start creating. That's when you're fresh and you've got that energy. So, and then 10th house is public reputation, career. That's where the sun's at its zenith. 10th and 9th house, there's like career and your highest principles, your highest goals, your greatest sense of who you are and what's important. And so that's a time to take action on behalf of that. And it's this question of, you believe that? You believe strongly in that? Do something about it. Prove it. What responsibility are you willing to take on based on what you profess to believe in? That's 9th and 10th house together.
Is that Pitta also?
That's Pitta, yeah.
Also reflected from 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Are you supposed to, like, if you had work to do, would you do it then again?
Yeah. Although that tends to be an unsustainable strategy, but yeah, definitely. So then the 8th house from 2 to 4 p.m. This is one of the most challenging times of the day. Nap time. Siesta. Take a break. The 8th house is associated with chronic illness, shocking losses, death, secret power, hidden influences, the occult, psychedelics, like the underworld. This is the 8th house.
So you're telling me to do drugs at work?
Yeah, I was
Correct.
Children's
Be careful of your addictions. Early afternoon comes around and
At that time.
yeah, be careful of your addictions at that time. Be careful of exercising in that time.
Really?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, be careful of exercising between 2 and 4. It's injuries likely to happen. It's one of those things.
Do not exercise.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, 8th house,
That's like
8th house stuff,
right after
accidents, again, like secret things, like it's Vata time, the wind is in your head and you're not quite paying attention. You step off the curve and here comes the bus or whatever, right?
Oh my god.
Just not quite paying attention. So a great time to nap. That 8th and 7th house is a great time to do social outreach, where it's like if you're gonna divide your workday, like do your sort of
Media,
the tasks that need focus and concentrated attention. 10th and 9th houses when the sun is high. 8th and 7th house, yeah, do media outreach, call people. It's like it's more the social time. It's like turning into cocktail hour. And so that 7th house is the place of partnerships, both romantic and business. 7th house, you see, is exactly opposite the 1st house. And so if you are embodied in the 1st house, who's sitting right across the table from you? So these are long-term partnerships, marriage. So really, 4 to 6 p.m., go home and see your partner. Honor your partner. Connect.
Yeah.
Remember who's here with you, and share. There's exchange, equal exchange. That 7th house is about relationship between peers. I have needs that I can't meet for myself. So do you. Let's agree to meet those needs for each other. So that's both a romantic relationship and a business partnership.
What's so interesting about that, about coming home, being with your partner, men's testosterone just starts to slowly diminish throughout the day, and it's usually at the end of the day where they are more social. And that's the time when you come home when you're more like, you want to be more nurtured by your partner or to your partner. So it's interesting.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, the science of like circadian medicine is amazing, how these things move. And like there's that big arc early in the day and the little one in the afternoon, evening, and then we're down. So that 6th house.
Wait, we want 7th.
No,
7th is partnership,
Oh,
connection with the people that you count on.
okay.
6th house is like doing the dishes, changing diapers, housework, clean the house, sort of like mundane tasks.
Which house is which?
That's 6, the 6th house.
or maybe exercise there too.
You could exercise there too. Yeah, the stuff that is not necessarily fun. Nobody's gonna say thank you for doing it, but it's just what needs to be done. Sweep the floor, do the dishes, exercise, pay the bills. This sort of just like mundane stuff that keeps the gears turning. And then the 5th house is about entertainment, dating. Yeah, right. Depending if you're gonna get up at 2 in the morning. 5th house is definitely bedtime, but it's like 5th house, like watch a movie, snuggle, go on a date, go out to dinner. That 5th house is.
Except it's past dinner time.
It's definitely past dinner time. Energetically, 5th house is the indicator of children. And so what might, so you came home between 4 and 6 and maybe had dinner with your partner, and then you did the dishes and swept the floor, and then from 8 to 10 p.m., what might you be doing?
Making children.
Yeah,
Practicing.
making children. Yeah, exactly.
Or spending time with your children.
Or spending time with your children.
It's gonna be a
Yeah. Child care is also definitely indicated in the 6th house. So in the sort of natural progression, if we're counting up, it's like 5th house is where we get inspired by something we love most outside of ourselves. Like, what do I love most other than myself? And that's usually where we want to start a business or make a baby. And it's almost like irrational enthusiasm, because if people really knew what it took to start and run a business, or really knew what it took to raise a child, like if you think about it too much, you won't do it. But you just have to be so inspired and in love that you do this thing. And so that's the 5th house, like, yes, I'm in love and inspired. And the 6th house, cool, change the diapers. Oh, you love that thing? Serve it.
This is hilarious. One of the most, I don't know, just like her output is crazy at work. Like she writes the most number of papers, just published the most number of papers at work. And she told me the other day that she works best from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Yeah. Dark bit the time.
How does she do that?
Well, and because the world is generally
Let's see.
there's less interruptions,
Yeah.
there's less noise.
But then she like wakes up at 10 a.m. and I couldn't do that.
Right. So she's then sleeping through. She's
Yeah.
must be a very pitta person,
Yeah.
or pitta provoked perhaps, where she's just living in pitta time. Not the worst strategy. If I were
If I were what? Finish it.
If I'm out of balance, I prefer to be pitta provoked.
Mm.
I prefer to have excess fire, because as long as it's not crazy excess, so it's not like a wildfire, I would rather poop more often than less often, right? And I would rather be a little bit sharp than not able to get out of bed, right? And so I would be personally, I would rather be a little bit more ambitious than lethargic and uninterested. So that's the direction that the pitta goes. Of course, like too far, and anything, it becomes cruel and vicious, and we don't want that. But that's what I was gonna say. Is like, if I have to be out of balance, I'll take pitta.
I feel like I can't do that because I have too much fire signs planets. First of all, I'm Leo, Sun, and Chinese Dragon. It's just like, no, I'm gone by 9 p.m. I'm like in bed by 9.
Yeah.
But like, I just feel like.
Yeah, in that kapha time, right? Kapha being the solidity, the structure. The most important thing for a fire is to have a solid chimney.
Yeah.
So the fire can push against that chimney all day, all night, and if it's solid, it's fine. It's contained, no problem. And so your kapha becomes the most important thing to cultivate that container and build yourself a strong chimney, because then the fire will just keep your house warm and cook your dinner instead of burning your house down, which it will do. Doesn't care. Like, just, the thing to note is the sun is considered a cruel planet because it, forgive me, doesn't give a fuck. It will grow your plants and keep you warm and make the day beautiful. And if you're lost in the desert, it's gonna kill you. Doesn't care. So that's the power and terror of the fire element.
Fourth house.
Fourth house. The fourth house is literally our root system. It's what's underground. It's what is it's the unseen that gives stability to everything else. Sleep. None of the rest of this is possible without sleep. And just like the tree and the fruit and the birds are not possible without the root system, but nobody sees the root system. You have to really pay attention to even know it's there. And so fourth house for deep sleep, third house for dreaming. Third house is like the ego. And it's sort of what makes you special. What's your unique story? And whereas fourth house is sort of like the universal home. Third house is like, well, my favorite color is red and yours is blue, and that makes us different. Sort of egoic differences, which again can get out of control. But I would again offer that the ego is a healthy thing. The ego is your friend. One of my definitions for it is the ego is the intelligence that lets every individual cell in your body know that it's part of a larger whole. And so like something like a cancerous growth is a deformation of ego, because cancerous tumor is just a bunch of cells that don't know that they're part of a larger whole. So they're just trying to grow on their own. They're actually quite innocent. They just are out of communication with the rest of the body. They don't know that it's an exiled part that doesn't know it's part of a larger whole, and so it just needs to be plugged back into the system. So healthy ego is third house, and dream work. I've found almost nothing in my life that's more important for the cultivation of a healthy ego than dream work, and a way to reclaim and get to know exiled parts. All the parts of myself that I would never admit exist, are shown to me in live action in my dreams every night. And there's a whole bunch of practices that make a note. We'll come back and do a dream work thing.
I would love that.
So fun.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
fun. Yeah.
This probably makes sense as to why you would prefer to wake up early, because then your dreams are fresh and then you remember them, right? Because I tend to forget them. Later I sleep in.
Yeah, later sleep in, the harder it is to remember, for sure. Yeah. Although one of the best ways to remember is to wake up, not move, so your mind is awake, but keep your body really still, and then drift back. And then that's the best time to like be lucid, because like your mind's more active, but your body's still in that sort of paralyzed state. And anyway, that's again a whole other course, and we've already gone over time. So much for time management. Thank you guys. This is really fun. I hope this is interesting and helpful. And we covered about 50% of what is here.
Oh, wow.
And we didn't talk about lunar cycles. We didn't. That's the main thing we didn't talk about is lunar cycles.
What a shock.
Can we? What a shock.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Patreon.
Exactly. No, well, and so the embodiment right here.
Can we do a part 2 to cover? This has been amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Like,
so welcome.
Keep coming back. We love it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I would love to come back. I can't wait. I love it here.
Yes.
The one thing, the like plug that I'll say for the moon cycles is that as a man, tracking the cycles of the moon has been the most revolutionary thing I've ever done for my mental health. Because I have a moon cycle too. The 3 days before the new moon are hard. I used to think, oh, it's just random. Like all of a sudden, I'm depressed for 3 days, and all the ambitious things I've signed myself up for, I have no interest in. Random. No, it's not. I just wasn't tracking over a long enough period of time, and it turns out that by tracking the phases of the moon, I know I can anticipate. I just don't schedule myself for stuff on those days. Easy. And so you can see how there starts to be a coherent system of understanding what day of the week is it, what phase is the moon in, where are we in the seasonal cycle, and you can start to make intelligent choices about, should I travel this day or that day? Should I eat a big meal today or not? Should I be social? And you start to weave these things together. So that's the sort of like the vision. Preview. Yeah, the future possibilities. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
So nice to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
Can
Thank
I
you.
say with this chart what I noticed? Because I know a little bit of Ayurveda, so I'm Kapha Vata, which I'm Earth, so I'm like Earth from the hip below.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like
Vata,
air
all
from
that.
everything above, and it's in my body too, which is so interesting.
Yeah.
Like the physicality of it. But what I noticed on here is like, so the different opposing Vata and Pitta Kapha, they balance each other. So if you're doing Pitta in the morning where you're really digesting and you're energized, the opposite side of the Pitta is you're using that force but in rest.
Yeah.
Same thing as a Kapha where you should be more energized in the morning than in the afternoon. It's just like so interesting how to find the balance, because you can easily feed more into the fire, to the water, to the whatever.
Yeah.
So using the same sign to feed it the dosha, to feed into the element, and then also take away so that you're almost centered.
Yes.
Oh,
Absolutely.
awesome.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
And this concept of, the light Pitta and the dark Pitta, the light Kapha and the dark Kapha is really helpful, because it's the same and different, right? Different qualities emphasized, different access points for it, and what you said, it makes a ton of sense.
Really cool realization.
Any resources, like books, podcasts to dive into this?